Welcome to a Trekzone conversation. We're now under a week to go until Vegas or Bust kicks off, and it's time to wrap up the July triple treat of Talkin Trek. Lee Sargent is back again.
Thank you. I certainly have faith of the heart.
Well, don't forget, you can find Lee on Twitter at Lee Sargent and on Facebook with Lee Draws Stuff. Check him out. He's an awesome guy drawing awesome things. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at MirrorMat86. Hey, Lee, that was a really nice change on the regular hello that you've been throwing at me all month.
Yeah, I said I'd do a different thing this week. So if you were listening last week, I promised I wouldn't just thank him for being here, but I thought it would be appropriate this week to declare my faith of the heart.
It's been a long road.
Which I have. It has been a long road.
Getting from there to here. Future Matt, who's editing this episode, give us the chorus.
'Cause I've got faith of the heart, going where my heart will take me.
Beautiful. All right, well, that's the chorus. That sets up...
You know, it's grown on me. It's grown on me.
It certainly has.
I hated that theme song so much when it first came out. I was like, I do not know what this is about. And it has grown on me to the point where it is on my iPhone somewhere and I will occasionally listen to it.
I've got the season 1 soundtrack where it's there, that enhanced
there's
audio.
There's 2 versions on that, which is amazing. So it's like it's a long version and a short version.
That blew my mind, the fact that there was a long version, that it was an actual song.
See, the story behind that is interesting because originally, like, I remember the first trailer I saw for Enterprise, and that was online because the internet existed then. So we finally reached the age of the internet. It takes a good 12 hours to download a movie, but, you know, the internet is there. And they had the trailer for Enterprise, and it was done to
Wherever I Will Go
by The Calling.
If I could, then I would. I'll go wherever you will go.
It was an amazing trailer for this show, which really, really got you G'd up. And it was like, okay, this song is cool. This trailer's cool. I'm so down with this. And I'm so excited about this being the new theme song for Star Trek. You know, in the first episode is seen, and there is no calling. There is Faith of the Heart. And it's what just happened? That was apparently the intended song. However, there was a Sony issue that came in and went, I don't think so, because we want to use that song for some other show.
What I really like is the fact that they remixed it in season 3, just like they did with DS9, and gave it a bit more up tempo and a bit of a
gave it a bit more crap. That's what they did. I remember they did that. I was like, that did not improve that at all.
And then they also put Star Trek in the title because apparently people needed reminding that it was Star Trek.
They didn't know what it was.
It's the series that took us back before Kirk, before Sisko, before Janeway, 150 years into the future, 100 years after First Contact.
Yep.
And we had humanity going out for the very first time. I'm not going to say redoing canon because they did their own thing. And I really do think that Enterprise stuck pretty close to establishments.
Oh, no, look, I think they made a big effort. But the problem always was its very existence was an issue. It wasn't, we hadn't seen the NX-01. We had it very clearly established in Star Trek, the motion picture, the lineage of Enterprise vessels. And the NX-01 was not there. Had they done the design that they had actually on the screen in the motion picture, that would have been canon. Everyone could have just gone, yeah, that's cool, but it wasn't a very cool looking ship compared to what we get with the NX-01. So yeah, once you got over that issue of the NX-01 having to be jammed into the continuity, they really did try not to upset the apple cart. Like the Xindi War, we didn't really know anything about that, so that's fine. And we didn't know anything about Xindi. Sure, that's not really a problem. But they, of course, had their future war going on, which went nowhere because no one understood it or cared. Look, again, I think if you go into a room full of people and you say, who here wants to see a prequel or who wants to see a sequel? Very, very few people are going to throw their hand up and say, you know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see what happened before this. rather than I'd like to see what happened afterwards. Very few people are interested in prequels. I don't know where this perceived issue of prequels are a good thing came from. But I know what it is. It's a business thing. And we don't want to pay the actors that we've been paying. You know, we don't want Michael Dorn to come back into another series.
It could have been an ancestor.
Yeah, well, that's true. Actually, he wasn't quick enough for that one. But you know, it was just, look, we don't want to be burdened with the costs of having to get anyone. That, you know, it started with Star Wars is really the answer there. When George Lucas kind of said, yeah, I want to go back and do the first 3 films because that's important. I honestly believe it's more to do with I didn't want to pay Harrison Ford money to come back. And Harrison Ford had the last laugh on that one because eventually he got the Harrison Ford money. Don't worry about that. So I just, prequels are always going to be a problem anyway. And no one had asked for a prequel and no one was interested in seeing before Kirk and Spock. Everyone wanted to see after Voyager. But in their infinite wisdom, they went, you know what?
And we still do.
Here's a prequel anyway. So already not off to a great start.
It's interesting you mentioned Star Wars because if this had been in the Star Wars universe, there would have been special director's cuts released of every episode and every movie that contradicted the fact that NX-01 wasn't there, and it would have put them in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, a re-edit of the there would have been a re-edit of the motion picture with the NX-01 there. Yep. Yeah, no, 100%. It's interesting watching the Kelvin universe films because they technically NX-01 is in the Kelvin universe timeline because the Kelvin universe happened after Enterprise. So we actually see the NX-01 is actually, there's a model of the NX-01 in one of the Admiral's rooms. There's references, of course, to Admiral Archer. Yeah, it's actually, there's more references to Enterprise in that than there were in anything else. So that was kind of neat in itself because it was like, ooh, Makos. You know, because we know what Makos are. They're from Enterprise. Yeah. That doesn't quite fit, but anyway, that's fine. That's no problem at all. We'll just carry on. And the Warp 4 ship doesn't quite fit. The Franklin should have been a Warp 6 or 7 ship, but that's fine. We're not going to argue it too much.
Well, they're starting to, of course, retcon the NX-01 in now with Discovery, or at least in Discovery second season. Yes. So we do have an Admiral Archer in the Prime timeline as well. But on timelines, I've always maintained a little bit of my own headcanon on this, in that with Enterprise taking place after First Contact, the Borg sphere goes back in time, tries to obliterate Zefram Cochrane and the first warp flight. Zefram Cochrane obviously gets a little bit of information, and we know that Zefram speaks about stuff, especially in that season 2 episode.
Yeah. He knows that people are on some sort of Star Trek.
Yes. But, you know, well, in season 2's Regeneration, Archer says to T'Pol that Cochrane always spoke about, you know, these future humans who came and saved us from cybernetic life forms and stuff like that. So,
no, it's in that timeline. Yeah, no, I like where you're going with this because it kind of makes sense.
But I'm not saying it's the Kelvin timeline. I'm actually saying that it's something else.
No, not the Kelvin timeline. Even in it does actually make sense in that
a little bit more. So Starfleet's a little bit more militaristic, which could lead into Discovery, which is after Enterprise. So it could be this Prime A timeline where they're sort of gearing up. Section 31 is aware of this Borg threat or this unknown alien threat.
So hang on a second, Matt. Can I just clarify for a second? Did you just say that Discovery isn't in the original Prime universe of TOS? Because I'm lighting up my torch and I'm grabbing my pitchfork.
Well, I mean, officially, of course, it is in the Prime timeline. In my head, I wonder whether this split could have happened.
I don't think it matters, Matt, somehow. I kind of, you know what? This, again, official canon versus...
Head canon?
Who cares?
Compared to who cares.
Head canon.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I still kind of maintain that. Yeah, look, I'm liking what you're putting down. I'm picking it up. I'm running with it. I'm okay with it. Because we saw Zefram Cochrane in original Star Trek. And yes, it was played by a different actor, which, unbelievable that they didn't have the foresight to hire someone who looked like Cromwell originally in Star Trek, so they would all line up in the future.
Or Cromwell himself.
Yeah, well, he would have been he would have looked a bit. He probably would have been quite young at that stage. But well, they could have tried to make it work. You're right, exactly. They didn't try hard enough. Original Star Trek has never ever tried to fit canon, and I think that's the flagrant disregard it has for look and feel. Like the uniforms don't look the same as later on. What type of shoddy TV story were they showing, when they didn't make plans for fitting canon later on? I don't know. Are
you telling me that in the
it takes me out of the show when I watch it because the attention to detail is so lax in original Star Trek.
Hang on, Lee,
completely messed Zefram Cochrane up.
Are you telling me that in 1966, when they created Star Trek, that they had no idea this thing would still be running 50 years later?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying they didn't have the foresight to think about that.
They didn't think of it. Those idiots.
They didn't plan anything.
Hey, I just very quickly...
I mean, they would have shot the Enterprise in high definition with much more detail.
Bloody hell.
So it would fit the timeline.
Correct.
In the future. I mean, just honestly, it was disrespectful of them to not think about
the United Earth Space Force turn into Starfleet,
Yeah, it's disrespectful of them to just
absolutely atrocious.
They just threw away all the hard work of all the people who would come later on.
Atrocious.
At any rate, we do go a little bit further it's all to Enterprise. Yes, they completely undermined Enterprise as a show by not mentioning Archer at any point, and they should go back and re-edit original Star Trek for the occasional mention of Admiral Archer.
George Lucas, are you listening? Get on that.
Are you listening? Now, stop messing around sticking rocks in front of R2-D2. Get yourself over to the Star Trek soundstage and start dubbing in some William Shatner saying, this is what happened when Admiral Archer did this. Wink?
Wink, wink.
Oh, don't say wink.
Hey, I just very quickly Googled James Cromwell. He was born on the 27th of January 1940. So that means in that episode of Metamorphosis,
it would have worked.
It would have worked because he would have been 26, 27.
Or alternatively, just dub him in now. George Lucas.
Just rotoscope him in.
Yep, just put him in. And every scene, just do that. I always thought it'd be interesting if they went with the deadly years, if they would get, back when Scotty was still alive and DeForest Kelly was still alive, and they had them. That's the episode where they age. It would be so cool to reshoot all those scenes and put them in as they are actually the age that they're supposed to be, but they didn't, obviously.
Well, look, back to Enterprise, the reason that we're here.
And they also needed to insert Michael Dorn in there somehow.
Rotoscope him in. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's pretty easy.
Walt lived on the planet with Zefram Cochrane, but didn't. He just he lived in the ridge over the side, so he just didn't show up in that episode. And he was like talking to Zefram later on, saying, "What? You had company? You didn't tell me? You have no honor."
Slashes him down.
We're getting silly. Enterprise,
Enterprise really suffered from the same type of problems teething problems that Voyager had in the start there. Didn't know what story it wanted to tell, didn't know where it wanted to take it. It had this large ensemble cast. I mean, we learned, it took us halfway through the season to work out that Malcolm likes pineapple and is allergic to it. I mean,
that should have been in the pilot episode.
Correct. Should have been in the first 5 minutes.
Could have smoothed over a lot of ruffled feathers had we known his... Reed's a weird character, isn't he? He's just particularly. See, this is the thing. I love the characters. I have a great affection for Enterprise characters. We talked about this last week with Voyager. Voyager was saved by the fact that I love the family that Voyager have. Now, I've got to say that when I first watched Enterprise, when it first came out, so I got a cool. I got to see Enterprise Broken Bow without the special effects in a preview copy, which was. I just happened to have a chance to watch that. And so when it eventually came out, I saw the special effects and everything. It was like, oh, that's cool. So I was very, very keen for Enterprise. And then Enterprise kind of Broken Bow did its thing. And I was like, yep, I like that. That's not too bad. I don't understand why their resident Vulcan is wearing nothing, but fine. And also the gel decontamination scrub up scene. Okay, this is your new sexy Star Trek. That's good because we really needed that. But I really liked Broken Bow. And then they had the next episode, which I think was called Strange New Worlds. So basically the Enterprise is going out for the very first time. It discovers an M-class planet. And the first thing they do is take the shuttle pod down and let the dog out. Now, in Jurassic Park, The Lost World, which isn't a great film, it's an okay film, but it's not a great film. We have an entire speech delivered by one of the characters about how we do not contaminate the location that they're at. So, you do not, you take all your refuse with you. There is no contamination whatsoever. The first thing that the Star Trek people do on the first planet that they visit, fresh, is let a beagle out to go pee on something. Now,
but they didn't have the Prime Directive then.
There's nothing to do with Prime Directive. It's basic science. You don't contaminate a planet. There is a woman in NASA. It's a responsibility to make sure that anything we send to Mars, anything we send to the moon, anything we send anywhere else in the universe is completely devoid of any microbes, of any contaminants, of any kind of thing, because we are determined not to show up somewhere else and screw up, contaminate the site.
Contaminate another planet.
Yeah, exactly, with our microbes and stuff like that. Whereas, again, the first thing we do, we take the shuttle pod over to, some ship that's been slaughtered. That wasn't great for them, but anyway. But the first thing we do is we've come to a first M-class planet. We go, yep, let's just go down and let's just let the dog out first and let's just wander around. It's like, no, if you're going to sell us this premise that this is our first time out, you need to deliver on that. And they did that in the pilot. And there's a lady there with a child, and she keeps taking this gas mask away from the child, and the child's choking. And Trip's getting more and more irritated. It's a brilliant scene, shot really well and very well performed. And eventually he snaps at her and tells her to stop it. Clearly the child's under duress. And T'Pol turns to him and says, she's whatever she is, up until age whatever, there's a particular gas that they breathe. She's weaning her child. If you are going to come out here, you need to learn you can't bring your kind of crap with you. She doesn't say it like that. She says it more in a Vulcan way, but in a cat suit. And we suddenly, and that whole scene for me was like, oh my God, this is the premise of this show. This is us going, like, we're used to Kirk rocking up to a planet and going, I'm not fazed by any of this. Nazis, that's fine. I've been around the galaxy. We see this stuff all the time. Giant green hands holding the ship, that's fine. I've heard of this happening. Another day, another dollar, or not dollar, because we don't get paid. But anyway, whereas what Enterprise's promise was
just another Tuesday.
There's a planet full of Nazis. What? Doesn't make any sense. That's crazy. Or going on, say, Andorians, you've got antennas. You got blue skin. You're a blue person with antennae. What is going on? You're freaking me out. I've never seen anything like that before. I'm struggling to deal with it because I'm human.
You got blue skin.
Get that in the first season. We got pregnant trips. We got, we got the dog being let out into planet. It didn't deliver on the promise of this is us going out for the first time. There are a couple of good episodes in it, but on the whole, every episode that I kind of watched was just a portrayal of that concept of this is us taking our first steps. And then we get to season 4, and season 4 just takes off like no one's business.
So season 4, Lee, is an interesting time because they knew that they were cancelled. They knew that it was the final series or the final season, and this was it. There was nothing after this.
Well, they introduced Manny Koto, and they said, look, you know what? We're all moving on. Do you want to do this? Yeah. And Manny Koto went, you know what? I love Star Trek. I'm loving a lot of Star Trek. So I'm more than happy to do this. And then they said, you know what? We made some mistakes. Could you fix some of them? Yeah. And he went, yeah, I can do that. What's mistakes did we make? Well, first off, we made the Vulcans assholes. Like cat suit wearing assholes. Don't ask me why we did that, but we did it. Like, Yeah, they were logical and stuff, but
Edgy.
we just made them really, really like dicks. Is there anything you could do with that? And then he went, okay, I'm going to do a 3-parter. And he just went, you know what? Let's fix that and let's expand the Vulcan universe and enrich the Vulcan story so much in just 3 episodes that
It's going to make your eyes bleed.
the Forge, all that, just fantastic. Really, really enjoyed that.
And it was the first time that we saw the Forge since the animated series.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It tipped its hat to the animated series. It tipped its hat to everything which would come later on. Fantastic. Like, and I love the idea that this is how we're going to like. Season 4 was all about fixing problems, and they fixed the Vulcan problem. And then Manny Koto went, you know what, too? Let's fix the Klingon issue. Everyone's always talking about the Klingons. Let's talk about the Klingons. The hell with it. Let's fix the ridges. Everyone's whinging about that all the time.
And they were all focused on the plot development whiteboard at the front of the meeting room in the writer's office that
Yes.
no one saw Michael Dorn step in from the back and go, Klingons?
Klingons?
Someone said Klingons? I'm here.
Exactly. Yeah, he's there. You got to look for him. You look hard for him, though. He's there. Don't worry about
Easter
that.
egg.
Michael Dorn is there. Even if you see a shadow somewhere, you can't kind of marry up with someone else. It was because Michael Dorn was on set, and they just kept having to swing the camera away from him. So we get the Augment storyline, which was a wonderful way of bringing Brent Spiner into the series, which was just the envy of Michael Dorn, but never mind. I reckon he rang Brent Spiner and said,
You bastard.
seriously, are you on the show? And he was like, yeah, can I come? He said, no, you can't come.
Do you need a friend?
My appearance, I'm playing my ancestor. And he goes, I have ancestors. And I love that. I love that storyline. I think that was actually one of the best guest starring parts of bringing Brent Spiner, bringing him up as his great-great-grandfather. And that last line that he has going, okay, maybe bioengineering isn't the thing. Maybe androids. And it's just like, oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know how he got out and had a child, but he did. So we'll just go with that.
Believe. Have faith of the heart.
I have faith of the heart. And then we have, of course, the Klingon, had a ship that was just wiped out by a single group of children. And they're all like, well, we're interested in this.
Give us some of this.
And they start genetic engineering and they lose all their ridges. And suddenly there's a canon reason why the Klingons in TOS are no longer, don't have the bumpy foreheads, and will regain them eventually. And that's excellent. Let's leave well enough alone. Well, I'm pretty certain no one will ever pick that apart. Oh, hang on a second. That was brilliant. And then we get to, of course, this growing fear on Earth of other species, and that the Xindi attack was because we were going out there and mixing with aliens, and we shouldn't do that. And it all culminated in this amazing 2 or 3-parter that had RoboCop trying to wipe out people, and we had Trip and T'Pol's child born. So we get to see the genesis of interracial relationships between Vulcans and humans. And we also get the scene in Enterprise that makes me bawl my eyes out every single time, is when Phlox says it's like she's my own child, type of thing. There's a scene where he can't do anything for the child's dying, and he says to Archer, I came on board the ship as a detached kind of observer of human relations and blah blah blah, but now I'm part of the family and it hurts. And it's delivered so well that if you didn't like Phlox before, that performance nails that character so much, and it's such a great moment. And Archer is brilliant in that scene, and of course Trip and T'Pol are just it's just the whole episode has me blubbering like an idiot, and I love it. And I absolutely love it. And then of course we have another episode that follows that episode, and it's not as keenly loved by anyone.
We have 10-year-older Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis trying to reprise their roles from the heyday.
Yeah. And it's so not fair. It's so not fair to them, and it's so not fair to Enterprise, and it's so not fair to the fans. And it's funny because I don't think it was ever meant to be a slap in the face. I think they honestly, as misguided as it was, I honestly think Rick Berman and Brennan Braga thought they were doing something nice. But they were doing it from their point of view and didn't realize that, yes, it was the end of their run, but we didn't care about that. Like, we only cared about the universe that was in front of us. They cared about it from a production point of view, that this was this is the end for them. So they thought, oh, look, let's finish it where we started, which is Next Generation. Sure, that makes sense. Not to anyone else it doesn't. Not to anyone who came on board during Voyager and then continued watching on Enterprise, or anyone who came on board during Deep Space Nine and continued watching Michael Dorn show up in other things. So I think they did it from a good place, but it was a bad thing. And I feel bad for Jonathan Frakes, who has gone on record saying this, is saying, he's wandering around doing his Riker thing, realizing, oh God, I'm at someone else's party. Like, I've just come in. It's someone else's birthday, and everyone's attention's on me. Oh, this sucks. This sucks so bad, and I'm so sorry. And these are really nice people, and oh God, let's just get through this. Like, there's so many episodes throughout that series that I just love. So it's this weird kind of mix mash of episodes that are just amazing, set in seasons that are not amazing. But there's just the cast of that show is possibly my favorite cast apart from original series. There's T'Pol is I'm a massive T'Pol fan, and I would forgive Discovery 100% if an older T'Pol would show up and do kind of stuff, because that would be awesome. That would be amazing, because she's the right age type of thing. She could do that. There was and there's episodes like the one where Archer's got that recurring short-term memory loss, and we go into the future. When we go into the future on Khan's planet, which is an amazing throw forward, I guess, where the planet that after the Xindi have wiped out humanity and are chasing them around the world, they actually wind up on the planet that Khan. It was either the planet that Khan's on or the planet that explodes next to the planet that Khan's on. SETI Alpha.
I'm going to have to go rewatch that.
Yeah, they only mention it. They're in the SETI Alpha system, and they mention which planet they're on. And it's like, snap. Because you don't need to do anything more than that. That's fine.
No, that's right.
But I've got, that's where humanity has decided to hide out from the Xindi. I got bad news for you guys. It's not going to work out well for you in that system. Yeah, there's episodes like that. Then there's Carbon Creek, which is a absolute amazing episode, which is in the same vein for me as Inner Light and City on the Edge of Forever, and in that it's an episode that doesn't take place on board the ship, that is completely outside of kind of the standard storyline. And it's such a great, wonderfully written and performed episode which throws the whole First Contact thing on its ear, on its pointed ear, so to speak. I love that episode. I think that's fantastic. That's great storytelling. And I think that's a second or third season episode. So they showed that there were real gems there. Night in Sick Bay. I love that episode. Who would have thought Porthos would get sick from a planet?
Not Archer.
Of aliens. Who would have thought that?
I think it really showed the humanity and the compassion for our captain in a way that didn't feel forced. Obviously he's going to care for his crew and his ship and all that sort of stuff. But to actually have a helpless pet, a helpless animal like a dog, all you can do is worry, and that. Yeah. Oh no, but you can dig deeper into that too, because he's the first captain on the first ship. He has so much. He has the weight of the universe on his shoulders, and he has two things that seem to be his constants. He has that volleyball thing. Yep. Because he likes water polo. And he has his dog. And so when his dog is in danger, it's this disruption of his world, and he needs that anchor. So not only is there the love of a pet, which
is completely natural and we all experience as a very human thing. But there's also this idea that his world can become crashing down because of this element, and he can't have that. That's his escape. And I love that. There was also the episode where they're answering questions from home.
Breaking the Ice, season 1.
I love that. I love that sequence because that's so. I would like more of that. Like, I love that point of they are celebrities back home. They are the most important ship to Earth and all that type of stuff. I thought that was very well done.
It's something too that we can foresee in our lifetime on a smaller scale with astronauts and missions back to the moon and to Mars. I can expect maybe not the missions to the moon, but definitely the missions to Mars. I can definitely see 4 months into that journey them doing scholastic crosses and stuff like that. And it's again, it's that humanity, it's that first step, it's that first exploration,
which is what the show should have been about. And the problem was that there for whole chunks of it, particularly the first season and the second season to that matter, we lose track of that. And I don't even have the issue. I mean, this is the other slap in the face with the whole kind of last episode. It's like, well, Archer's about to go deliver the most important speech in all of Star Trek history, and we can't.
The writers didn't want to write it.
Well, I know they didn't want to write it, but they should have written it, and they should have actually outsourced it to. They should have gotten people who write world leaders' speeches. And they should have gotten them to write it. They should have gotten a Nobel Peace Prize winner or someone like that to write it, so that it really had a lot of weight to it. And he should have delivered it, and it should have been done. But then it should have been done at the end of the 7th season. It was wrongly cancelled because that last season was extraordinarily good. And it was a real shame that it got really good, and then they went, no, we're not doing it anymore. It really undercut how good that season was. And what a good job Manny Koto did with bringing on the authors. I can't remember their names now.
The Reeve Stevens.
Yes,
Garfield and Judith. Who
completely revitalised the storytelling. Stunning. Fantastic work. 3 more seasons of that would have been insane. My understanding was Shran was going to become a main cast member and was actually going to join the crew, which would have been absolutely fantastic.
That's right.
Because again, we would have had another alien on board instead of, and they would have dressed him up in a cat suit so that we could see everything.
Michael Dorn would have been there as well.
Yeah, Michael Dorn would have been there at least in the last season.
Michael Dorn in a cat suit?
I don't know if they would have put him in a cat suit because he does supply his own costumes as far as I'm aware. I believe that he gets them made up. He had an Enterprise costume ready to go.
The jumpsuit. He was ready.
With Worf written on it, and he's like, "I'm ready to go."
Put me in, coach. Put me in, coach.
He called. Again. It was like Riker was like, he don't worry, because he gets these scripts. I don't know how. He breaks into the studio. He gets the scripts and he reads them. And he goes, "I could be there," and he would have been angry with that last episode because it'd be like, Jonathan Frakes is there, Marina Sirtis is there. What's Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis without Michael Dorn? Nothing. Get me on.
Wasn't Worf in the love triangle with Riker and Troy?
Exactly.
And
I think even Data's voice is heard over the thing. It's like, are you kidding me? Worf would have been there. Michael Dorn would have been there going, "You're killing me. Killing me.
You
I
dishonor.
could have been there. I'm a contender." God, I would have done anything. Well, Wolfie would have had to make you look 10 years younger. I can do that. I'm so there. Put the crab thing on my head again.
Lee, best moment of the entire 4-year run of Enterprise?
I'm going to say that scene with Phlox. When he talks about, I don't remember the child's name now, unfortunately, but when he delivers that monologue to Archer, it's so exceptionally well done and so earnest and well performed that and Phlox isn't even my favorite character there, but it was just done so well that I can't go past that. And then anything from season 4 is just gold. Every episode's gold, including even the Mirror Universe episodes that I'm not into. But it's such a wonderful opportunity to see the cast, flouncing around in TOS uniforms. It just looked beautiful, and we got to see the Constitution class starship with modern day special effects, and it looked amazing and didn't really need to be changed. So I'm glad they didn't do that, because changing the original Enterprise, which just, it sounds wrong, and just I don't want to do that just for the sake of doing it.
We're gonna get there, I think, when we discuss Discovery.
I think you can't see my cheeky face right now.
I think the best moment for me was when they went through the entire 24 episode arc of stopping the Xindi from creating the super weapon. They went through all of that and they went back to Earth. So I think the moment for me in the entire franchise is the Nazi storyline 2-parter to start season 4.
What a great, I love the story behind Best of Both Worlds, where they get to the end of Best of Both Worlds Part 1. And they just drop that hand grenade and they say, we're off now. And the actual, my understanding was that some of the writers who worked on that was their last episode. And they were like, we're not coming back for the next season, so we're off now. Enjoy that.
Bye-bye.
And I get that vibe from the end of season 3 of Enterprise was like, you know what? Manny Koto's taking over next season. We already know that. So I don't have to deal with this shit. So come Monday, that's not my problem. Yeah, Nazi aliens. Last scene, Nazi
And
aliens.
go.
Enjoy that. And Manny Koto's like, okay, cool. So we're coming in on day 1, and so what do we have to tie up from last? What, Nazi aliens? Oh, for Lord's sake!
What have I agreed to?
2 episodes. We'll get rid of that. We'll just deal with it. What a great cliffhanger, because no one saw that coming.
No, that's right.
No one saw that.
And you're sitting there going, really? Seriously?
What? An outrage in the bulletin boards. The online bulletin boards were outraged. They
BBS.
were horrified.
Yes.
They were like, what is going on? They've lost the plot. And then, there was death threats, and people hated some people who liked Enterprise, and other people hated people who liked people who hated Enterprise, and it was all sorts of. It was so. I thank God we don't see anything like that now. Thank God we evolved. I'm just happy that the dark days of Enterprise, when someone stood up and said, you know what, I like Enterprise, and then 100 people went, you are the worst person on the planet. You are worse than an alien Nazi.
You don't get true Star Trek.
You're not a true Star Trek fan. How dare you? Get out of my bulletin board on Enterprise. Get out. You're awful. And I'm going to share your address with other people, and they're going to send you dog poo in a bag. and then we had to go through a dark period where no Star Trek was on.
Yeah.
Get to this utopian period now where we're just so happy to have Star Trek again, that everyone's come together and joined forces and
sung Kumbaya around the campfire.
Sung Faith at the Heart. And it's just so good because we've seen the realization of the ideals of Star Trek have come together online in Twitter, where everyone just loves and no one hates, and we don't nitpick things to hell. We just accept them for what they are.
Oh, Lee Sargent.
Join us next month when we discuss Discovery.
Actually, Lee,
unrelated issues.
I think Lee. I think for the next one we might need to get together, Lee. I need to put you on a couch, and we need Sigmund Freud to come out and just help you analyze and deal with your troubles.
With my trouble, I know. As I said, I'm excited about the fact that we are in this utopian society now.
Well, we are going to be talking Discovery in September, because the month of August is all about Trekzone at Star Trek Las Vegas as part of Trekzone's Vegas or Bust tour. Lee, it's been an absolute thrill to dive through the Berman era Trek with you over the last 3 weeks. Thank you very much.
Or the Michael Dorn Trek.
The Michael Dorn Trek, yes. Well,
if you're listening to this one for the first time and you don't understand the obsession with Michael Dorn, I highly recommend going back and listening to the last couple of weeks to try and bring yourself up to speed.
Rewind the cassette.
Oh yeah, because there is reasons why we're mentioning him so much. Apart from the fact that we love Michael Dorn.
And if I find him at Vegas, I'm putting I'm putting a compilation together, and if I find him in Vegas, I'm actually going to play him this and get his reaction.
Get Michael Dorn to read lines from every series, and so that I can loop them in.
That is a brilliant idea.
I think if you can get him to record, and then Worf showed up,
We'll have it on Discovery.
I could tag that onto any episode of Star Trek.
Oh my goodness, that could be
Galileo 7. We rescued Spock and the rest of the crew, and then Worf showed up.
and that's it. There's nothing else.
No, that's it. That's roll credits.
Roll credits.
Actually, that's how Enterprise should have finished. Was should have end program, and Worf's like standing outside the holodeck, going,
I'm
"About
coming."
time. I've been waiting for hours to get into this holodeck. I know I had it booked, and also, and then he looks at Deanne Troy and he goes, "How you doing?" And that's where we should end that.
Fantastic, Lee. Well, thank you very much, especially for this week, Talking Enterprise. It's been a thrill, and we'll chat again in September.
Thanks very much, Matt.
Get exclusive access to podcasts and behind-the-scenes info of the show by becoming a member on Patreon today. Support Australia's unofficial home of Star Trek. Get even better with membership starting at just $1 per month. Jump over to patreon.com/TrekZone.org.au. You can also get social with Trekzone. Australia's unofficial home of Star Trek is everywhere you are. Get the wrap-up on our Facebook page, keep in the loop on Twitter, and relive Trek episodes on Instagram. Plus, you can catch the latest podcasts on your favourite podcasting app. New content is being added all the time to Trekzone's YouTube channel, Talkin Science with Dr. Brad Tucker on Tuesdays, Trekzone Live on Thursdays starting in September after Vegas or Bust, and a Trekzone Conversation, the main show, on Saturdays. Don't miss a moment, subscribe and ring the bell to be the first to know about new eps. There is just 6 days to go until Trekzone's Vegas or Bust tour begins.